All right, these are the worst. This is the worst prison in America. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. But let's check this video out, man.
This is the biggest prison in the world, designed to hold up to 40,000 inmates.
It's not just the worst; it's the biggest prison too. That's crazy.
It's a brand new high-security fortress. The inmates are under constant observation, inside and outside. Up to 100 prisoners live in cramped-up cells, with no privacy. There's no going out, no fresh air, and no visits. This prison is located in El Salvador. For decades, the country has been terrorized by so-called maras, competing street gangs. It was notoriously one of the world's most dangerous places. Its murder rate has long been the highest on the globe. Then, its people elected a new president. Nayib Bukele went to war against the country's gangs. His government imprisoned 2% of the country's adult population.
Imagine 2% of America going to prison. That's just crazy, brother. That is wild.
Many here, never to see their families again, never to be released back into society. El Salvador is much safer now, in some ways. Bukele is immensely popular as a result, but up to 1 in 3 prisoners is said to be innocent, and El Salvador might have accidentally sacrificed its democracy in its fight against the maras. This is Juan, a fictional character we base on real reports and material from the mega prison. He is 15 years old, tattooed, his parents are very poor, and abandoned him when he was 9. Then he joined the Barrio 18, a major Mara gang. Now Juan is on a prisoner transport to the southeast with other suspected gang members.
It's illegal. So it's illegal to be in a gang in El Salvador. I'm just saying, just to be in a gang is wild. But to go to prison for being in the gang, he ain't commit no crimes, and he just in jail for tough life to live. And his parents left him at 9, bro. Imagine your parents ran out on you at 9. Was you even tying your shoes straight at 9? You know what I mean? I was still wearing Vans. I was wearing slip-on Vans, so I didn't like to tie my shoes at 9 years old. No cap. That's wild.
3 years earlier, Nayib Bukele became president of El Salvador. He's much younger than your average politician. He knows how to use social media and quickly rose to power. Fighting the maras dominated his political career. The gangs have their origins in U.S. cities like Los Angeles. After the young migrants were deported in the early 90s, they took control of the streets back in Central America. They've been terrorizing El Salvador for decades. Extortion, arms trafficking, and drug dealing. Maras rule entire communities and districts. They often recruit orphans and leave children in poverty with no choice. Join or die. During gang wars, innocent bystanders are often caught between the fronts on the street. The maras have attacked and set fire to buses on several occasions, even with innocent civilians inside them. In 2015, 18 people were murdered every day. El Salvador has a population of over just 6 million, which equated to over 100 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. A sad global record.
Dang.
As mayor of the capital, San Salvador, Bukele used mild means to fight this violence. Youth centers, streetlights, infrastructure, and education helped. Many voters like that. Now as president, he's changing his strategy. He wants to rule with an iron fist. At the beginning of his first term in office, the murder rate in El Salvador actually falls. But it also fell before that, and there are considerable doubts as to whether this was really due to his security politics.
Okay, so he locked up 2% of the whole El Salvador, but you know what I mean, with the murder rate going down, it was kind of calming down. You know what I mean? They got more education, more streetlights. He didn't have to lock everybody up. They just wanted the opportunity.
Also, Bukele is said to cooperate with the gangs. The maras are supposed to keep a low profile and reduce the murder rate. In exchange, Bukele promises benefits for imprisoned gang members. The gangs seem to have agreed, and the violence decreases. Bukele denies any such deal has been made. Either way, in 2021, the population rewards Bukele and his party with a majority in parliament, and with more power.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, man.
On the 22nd of March, 2022, the government under Bukele declares a state of emergency. The reason is a wave of murders by the maras. 10 days earlier, over 60 people fell victim to the brutal gangs in a single day. It seems like they stepped down from the supposed deal they had with Bukele. The state of emergency restricts freedom of assembly and freedom of the press. Anyone can be detained for 15 days without a warrant. The police had to meet strict arrest quotas. During the 15 days in police custody, it is decided whether somebody will remain in custody for up to 2 years as pretrial detention. Because of the
Bro. So in a state of emergency, so they just come out and get you. You gotta go to jail. 15 days minimum. You ain't got no lawyer, no nothing, no news outlet, nobody you can tell. And then you gotta go before a judge to tell you if you're gonna get 2 years, and you like for them to not tell you why. Like, I got a couple tattoos, so I'm in jail. That is crazy, bro.
The 15 days of custody and thousands of arrested people, mass trials often decide on this pretrial detention.
Mass trial. So all these people in trial together. All of them gotta go through. Hey, all y'all guilty, all y'all not. You're not a person no more.
The judges decide the fate of up to 900 people at a time. Sometimes the judges are masked and remain anonymous. Anyone who ends up in pretrial detention usually spends more than a year in prison. The country's prisons became completely overcrowded. Some host 3 times the amount of prisoners they were built for. The conditions are brutal. Guards torture and most likely sometimes kill inmates. In the first year of the state of emergency alone, there are over 150 deaths in the prisons. Dead bodies are reportedly disposed of in mass graves, relatives not informed of the deaths. We aim to make tough subjects such as this one accessible through animation.
I'm not even gonna lie. That's 100. Like, them having mass stuff and not contacting family. That's them committing, like, they commit murders for no reason, bro. And for the people that are innocent, you just gotta imagine, like, your family not knowing where you are, what happened to you. You could have been at your homeboy house and they got arrested. You don't got no news outlet saying that they're arresting people. You don't got nobody saying, hey man, Davy Jones is over here and he just got arrested, and they finna do a mass trial with 900 other people to tell you if all of them guilty or not.
That wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, like the truly amazing
All right, we're gonna skip
Free Step website building a website.
Skip the sponsor.
Just drag big. To free up the regular prisons and to house convicted gang members, this new mega prison is built in 2023. Gang members have officially been classified as terrorists since 2015. Accordingly, the prison is called Center for the Confinement of Terrorism, or CECOT for short.
CECOT.
Kwan arrives there now. After a good hour, the bus reaches a massive complex, surrounded by a 2-kilometer long and 11-meter high wall. It is supposed to be able to withstand car bombs. Hundreds of soldiers from the surrounding barracks can be called up to CECOT within minutes. After the gate opens, Juan drives past high fences, watchtowers, and...
Oh, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, man. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs, and it'll mean a lot to me if you subscribe.
Use a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Sleep Number does that.
and huge halls. The bus comes to a halt again in front of one of them. Juan has to hand over all his possessions and get x-rayed. He is given a white t-shirt and trousers. His head gets shaved. Then Juan is taken to his cell. He shares it with around 90 other prisoners. This 4-story metal shelf is his only place to sit. He can use his towel as a pillow. He has to sleep on it at night, if he can. The light in the hall is on 24/7, and it is always bright as day. Juan quickly loses all sense of time. There are no windows, he can't look outside, let alone go outside. In contrast to many other prisons, there is simply no outdoor area for inmates. Escape is utterly impossible. The complex is protected by 7 security rings. From the cells to high electric fences, 19 watchtowers, and several walls, there is gravel on the paths so that no one can move around unnoticed. Some inmates can speak to their lawyers, but only by video call. There is a special room just for that. Juan only leaves his cell to work in the workshop every day, or to take part.
And then they make you a government worker. That's even like, who are these some people that get to speak to their lawyers? Why do they get to speak to their lawyers? And then you got to work also. That this is you know what I mean? This is the worst prison for sure. Like, you're just a slave at this point, for real.
Part of mandatory joint sports sessions in the middle of the hall, always under strict surveillance by security guards armed to the teeth. They watch the prisoners from every angle. There is no privacy. Juan shares 2 large wash basins and toilets with his cellmates. The gym and canteen are only for prison employees. Prisoners eat in their cells. So it's a real highlight when Mexican YouTuber Luisito Comunica comes by with his camera crew. Similarly, when Lethal Crisis gets to film there. You can find both videos in our description. They have English subtitles. Some inmates may try to send a message to the outside world while being filmed. Anyone who's caught doing that or causes disturbance is put in a solitary cell. These are concrete bunkers with a water basin, a toilet, a simple concrete bench.
I'm not gonna lie, if we finna be in here and I gotta be in a cell with 90 people, I don't get to see outside anyways, I might just end up in a solitary spot. You get your own toilet, get your own bath, and you get your own little, it ain't a bed, but it's your own little layaway spot.
There is no lighting in these cells. It is pitch black.
But you do gotta be in the dark.
Many prisoners will spend the rest of their lives in these conditions. Prison sentences in CCOT are set to last from 20 to over 1,000 years. The inmates are cut off from the outside world, their families and friends. There are no phone calls to CCOT and no visits. Some will never see their loved ones again. Juan is expected to be released from CCOT after 15 years. That is the maximum sentence for 15-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-olds can serve up to 30 years. What plans are there for him when he gets out of prison? None. Rehabilitation is not planned. Human rights groups such as Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Cristo Sol criticize CCOT harshly. Experts cast doubt if the clampdown can solve the country's problems long term.
Containing people is a fairly good temporary solution. It's something that can happen fairly quickly with not a ton of money, and it's an investment to really expand rehabilitation programs and to look at preventative strategies.
Ashley Battistini is a professor at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne. She works primarily on new intervention strategies for high-risk populations. According to her, CCOT only treats the symptoms of violence. Sooner or later, the violence could return in the same way, or worse.
If you treat people like trash, you're really going to get trash behavior in return. People are not motivated to change when they are treated poorly and when they're not given opportunities to grow and develop. And so even though, again, it's doing what it's intended to do by containing this behavior, pulling these individuals off the streets, and you're seeing reductions in crime as a result of it, in the long term, it's really not going to be of benefit to society or to these individuals to simply contain them without any goal of changing what is keeping them in that criminal lifestyle.
But how should gang violence be combated?
I don't know. We can't have 30 people dying in a day, but then you don't want to violate the human rights. So, you got to pick somewhere in the middle ground. I don't think she's talking about how many people was getting murdered and how many people went down. Now, we don't know if it was a direct effect, but there are less killings, less gang violence. You know what I mean?
Added.
It's also going to need thought around preventative strategies and policy changes that, again, are causing people to go down this pathway in the first place. So, it's worth taking a look at what's going on in communities, with the economy. What is it that is driving people to enter these gangs and to keep these gangs so active and involved in the first place?
According to Socorro Jurídico Humanitario, almost 1/3 of all prisoners in El Salvador are most likely innocent. Many were imprisoned based on a mass trial in front of a masked judge after they were arrested without a warrant. The government is aware that thousands of innocent people are in prison. The government claims that 8,000 people have already been released. About twice as many innocent people are likely still detained. Police had explicit orders to make arrests, no matter who they were really arresting.
Porque hemos metido gente sin haber cometido ningún delito, sino que hay muchos casos solo por el simple hecho de ser jóvenes. Las patrullas tenían que detener cierta cantidad de gente diaria para que la suma de detenidos fuera aumentando, ¿va? Y así decir de que si no deteníamos a 20 personas, no podíamos regresar a la base. O sea, y allí fue que...
So even the police getting treated down bad, they gotta arrest 20 people or they gotta go back to the barracks. Like, but you gonna choose yourself. You're going to choose yourself in that situation.
Que allí agarramos a cualquiera que hallábamos en la calle, ¿verdad?
Poverty is a big factor that drives people into the arms of the gangs. During Bukele's last term of office, extreme poverty in El Salvador has doubled. At the same time, Poor people were particularly affected by the wave of arrests. They are often unable to afford legal assistance. Nonetheless, many people of El Salvador view all of this as an incredible success story for Bukele. Over 70,000 arrests since the beginning of the state of emergency, opening the largest prison in the world, a historically low murder rate. According to the government, just under 500 murders in 2022 and only 154 murders in 2023.
That's a big jump, man, from 2,000 to 154, man. So many lives saved.
El Salvador went from one of the most violent countries in the world to one of the safest in Latin America. So Bukele was re-elected as president in February of this year by a huge margin. The constitution did not actually allow him to be re-elected, so he had it changed. Just one of many erosions of El Salvador's democracy. Already in 2020, he had marched into parliament with armed soldiers to influence a vote. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press have been restricted for over 2 consecutive years now. While reading up on this topic, we found this quote in The Guardian. Bukele is highly undemocratic, highly abusive, and highly popular. For some, it's hard to accept that these 3 things can coexist. Bukele jokingly called himself the world's coolest dictator on Twitter a few years back. Doesn't seem so funny now.
That's crazy. But yeah, man, I don't know. With all the innocent people, you got to think about their human rights. But then he getting people off the street, stopping homicides. So I don't know, man. It kind of give me mixed feelings about what's going on. So what's the greater good is kind of what you think or what I think about. But let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know what y'all think about Mr. Bukele or him running for a term that he wasn't supposed to be with and they changed the whole law. Or even them building the world's biggest prison and just, you know what I mean, arrest them people. I would love to hear what y'all thoughts about it, man. If you're El Salvadorian, man, let me know what you truly think. And yeah, man, I'm Aubrey. Subscribe to my channel. Till next time.